Good evening. This is Gateway Gazette, Gateway Television's weekly program that we have been broadcasting on this channel for the last 11 years. We are live on channel 714, Sky channel 714. We are live on YouTube and we're live on Facebook. And to see us on those channels, you have got to go to MA TV channel and then navigate your way to us. It's a great show today. We have been broadcasting this show for the last 11 years with the principal purpose of highlighting the issues relating to the poor, the people in minorities, those who are not able to raise their voice. We have been their voice. And we believe that we have made the difference for better in many lives. And we hope that with your support, we will continue to do this. Today's show is essentially it's a show to celebrate independence of the subcontinent from the British Raj. And I salute those people who given their lives to make this possible. I salute those people who given their lives earnings to fund all the problems that were happening at that time. They gave their lives entire work. They gave up their families and ultimately made it possible for people who are living today in the independence to live a life of freedom. We celebrated India's independence on the 15th of this month, and I congratulate you, Aarti, for that celebration.
Thank you so much, Dr. David, and I congratulate you for the independence for the 14th as well. A great day, and I would say for both nations, for our continent. I love the way that you described that, because it's definitely a celebration for our continent, because so many people got together and made this possible. Otherwise, independence would never have been possible for us. It wasn't 1 year or 2 years of British Raj that we were fighting against. It was 100.
It's a great pity that since the independence, things have not gone according to plan. The whole idea was to separate those people who had a different faith and different way of life, so that they could live as a neighbor and coexist. But that has not happened. There has been always, in this instance, as many others, a battle between good and bad. Qaid-e-Azam was a good person. Gandhiji was a good person. But then in between came the evil of those people who did not want to see neighbors live together. In between came the evil where people were not able to live together because of their hatred for each other. All those people who cannot live together are the ones who make others people's life miserable, and that is what is happening. And this is time to make sure that we recognize all the harm that has been done to both our countries, India and Pakistan, and see how best we can repair the damage, and we allow our children to meet other children, because our cultures are similar. Our history is entwined together. Our habits are the same. Our food is the same. Our color is the same. Our weather is the same. When one part of India suffers, the other part of India suffers. When both India parts suffer, Pakistan suffers, because there were things that we used together, and I believe that we can still begin to do that.
Definitely. I mean, I totally agree with you, Dr. David. So much, there's so much that makes both of the nations connected, because essentially we were one. Before the partition, we were one. And I feel that sometimes people forget that. They forget their roots. Even when the partition happened, I'm no great historian, but from what I've learned and what I do know, is that so many people suffered. People were trying to collect their belongings, scrounging, making everything work so that they can at least be with family members or be a part of family members. So many people left their homes, their land, their space. But then what we need to remember is that even before the partition, everyone got together, and there was effort from all sides, from all castes, from all religions, from all backgrounds, male or female, children, or or elders, or anyone, but every single person contributed to gain or to have this independence. But I just feel that over the centuries, over the years, maybe it could be that certain leaders that we have at that time, they made certain decisions for what they thought was for goodness, but now the generations afterwards seem to be very confused. There are some people who are happy and they think that yes, there maybe should be more partitions and further partitions, because very quickly we had East Pakistan and West Pakistan. And we also, the suffering, the famine and everything that went on there. But even from India now, the people are asking for more partitions and suggesting more partitions. There's this whole issue with Kashmir going on, this whole issue with Khalistan going on, Balochistan going on. There's so many people still looking for more partitions, but where does it end? As a youth, I would like to ask everybody that where does it end? How many partitions do we need? Because essentially we are one. We are one. We are the same color. We all bleed the same, but still people want partitions. And where does it end? Because first they'll use one thing, then they'll use another. But there seems to be no end to this hate, and that's a bit worrying. That's a bit worrying for the future generations. Maybe 3 generations forward, or even 4 generations forward. Would they even know what unity is? Would they even know what humanity is? It scares me. It actually scares me, because there's too much going on, and too many people in power maybe misusing their power and using that hatred to fuel and to fuel the hatred in people and fuel the splits and make people divide so that they can divide and conquer. But what is it doing to the future generation?
There is in both countries more people who want peace than those who do not want peace.
Gee.
So many wars, so many people dead, so much conflict, and so much misery, and so much. If Pakistan and India were to join together in a situation of peace, they will become the biggest economic and commercial force in the area. They will become, because of the young, thriving, intelligent, healthy population in both countries. If they only can solve the problem that you have suggested of Kashmir or other problems, we can begin. But I believe that we can still work around those problems.
Gee.
You don't need to be Aristotle. You can say, well, look, let's set aside the problem that we have. Let's see the positivity. Let us see what is common, and then we'll discuss what is not so common. When you say common, that means what is the common interest, and then we will say we'll leave the conflicts on the side and let's begin to build rather than destroy each other. What do you say to this? Is there any way we can? There is people. They are silent majority, but they don't say it because they are good people. We talk about good and evil later on, but they are good people. And then there are people who have vested interest in the countries to remain in war. These are politicians who want to make sure that they make inflammatory speeches, they wind people up, they drum up their support to remain in the power and remain in the parliament and remain in a position where they can exert their importance. And those people who are not able to defend themselves, these are the good people, because those people who can't say much, they are supposed to be good people. But the goodness should come into those people who are powerful people. We'll talk about it later on. But I think the more people who are quiet, if they begin to exert their voice at the ballot boxes, say, we want peace between India and Pakistan, until only then peace will come.
I do believe that. I do believe that if people do come together and they do unite, and especially I would say the common person who has the power to vote, and they use that power in a positive way and actually think about who they're giving their vote to before actually casting their vote, then we can make a difference. But Dr. David, I feel that one thing that lacks in this continent or in both countries is maybe education, because unfortunately, one thing that I have noticed that in both countries, that unfortunately people look to media maybe for education. They'll look to gossip for education rather than actually looking at the facts. Media can be bought, they can be paid. There's corruption in every level, in every single level. Even if you go outside to the voting station, they will say to you, this is our mark, this is where you need to put your stamp, or this is where you need to put your, this is where you need to vote. So people don't have a say. They will sell their vote for a bottle of alcohol. They will sell their vote for, you know, a gas cylinder. They will sell their vote for some groceries even, because the core root level issues have actually still not been looked into. So poverty, hunger, those things have not been looked into. I mean, because of a few pens and pencils and stationery, people are not only willing to sell their vote, but they're willing to change their religion. This is what's going on in our countries, and unfortunately the people that have the power to educate and to help people see sense, they're not using their power, they're abusing their power, and that's where the issue is. But people who don't know better, because for them the most important thing is, where is my next meal coming from? So they only worry about today because they don't save for tomorrow, because they don't believe that maybe there is going to be a tomorrow. So that's because we have such a big divide, which is getting even bigger now between the rich and the poor. That is the major problem. I personally feel that maybe education would be a good key. It would be great if in both countries, education was free. And I did read a report somewhere that in Pakistan there's a university where education is going to be free in that university. But you know, these are good beginnings, good starts. But what will be taught there? What would be the education level? Would people be able to have that education? Would they have the knowledge about who they're casting their vote to, what it actually means, what's in it for them, rather than their next meal, or maybe a bottle of alcohol, or maybe a different gift, maybe a gas cylinder and whatnot? Rather than that, what would they actually be getting or gaining?
There has been, I believe, in both countries, a conspiracy by those people who are in power.
Yes.
And especially we see in the rural parts of Pakistan, where people who are sardars and who are vaderas, they like to make sure that there is as little education in their in their areas of influence as possible, because education will begin to bring people. They'll open people's minds up. They will be able to debate. They will be able to discuss. They will be able to challenge. They will be able to provoke. They will be able to ask questions. And our leaders, and some of them, don't want that.
No, no.
They especially, we were talking about our rural areas of Sindh, for example. There, people are, and in Balochistan, and some Punjab as well, and I'm sure the same is true in India as well. People do not want their children, their own children will come to America and England to study.
Yes.
That's no problem. But they want to make sure that their servants' children remain uneducated.
Yes.
They remain in a situation where they will always be asking them for help, asking them for support. They will never be able to make sure that their improvement can come through, because that improvement is in the hand of the vaderas. And I think that is the critical, because education releases people. Education promotes debate. Education allows people to be challenged, to be criticized, because education gives people to promote their own point of view. If people are not educated and they are asked a question they don't have an answer, the first thing they do is they start punching. because they don't have any answer.
Yeah. And they get angry, Dr. David, they get angry and they get frustrated. And it's the frustration for any common man in both countries is that why is nothing changing for us? Why are the poor getting poorer and the rich getting richer, but nothing is changing for the poor person? There seems to be no change over so many years. And that frustration, the anger builds up, the joblessness, the hopelessness of never having a job builds up. And that's when there's riots. It's easier to say to those people, here, I'll give you 10 rupees. You go and throw a brick over there or you throw a stone over here. It's easier to manipulate their minds because, like I said earlier, their main concern is not what's going to happen to our nation. It's not what's going to happen to forget the nation, not even to what's going to happen to just the town or the city or the village that we're in. It's where is my next meal coming from? Will I have clothes to wear tomorrow? Will I have a roof over my head? If something happens to me, will anybody stand by my side? And it's not. They've actually gone into survival mode. And when you're in survival mode, you just want to attack anything that's moving or anything that's different. Yes. Because it's the fear. Animal instinct within us. So when you're in survival mode, it's almost like no one can bat an eyelid. No one can talk about you slightly changing your mindset even. There are so many places still in our countries, unfortunately, where women are not allowed to speak. So what I'm doing is the greatest, I would say, sin of all, because it's like, how can she speak? She's a woman. Even in today's date, I still remember, and this is in England, I finished my I finished my GCSEs and I wanted to go to college. So I was discussing with my mum. I was saying, Mum, I want to go to college because I want to study further. And I was explaining it to my mum. My mum's not very educated, so I was explaining it to her. And one of her friends happened to be around our house at the same time. And she said to my mum, she said it in Punjabi, she goes, "Jada na parai, hath jo baar na nikal jaave." Basically in Hindi, कि लड़की हाथ से निकल जाएगी अगर इसको हमने ज़्यादा पढ़ाई करने दी या इसको ज़्यादा पढ़ाई हाथ से निकल जाएगी. And just today, it happened out of coincidence that one of my friends sent me a video, and it had the same line inside it. But my mum, at that time, she said to her friend, she goes, I want her to be educated so she doesn't have to explain, or her children do not have to explain to her what education is, what it means. My mum said, she goes, if I knew what education was, then I wouldn't be in the mess I am in today. I would have the authority, the right to make my own decision about my life. And I want my daughter to have that. So she stood by me and she said, "Nay, Aarti, I want you to go to college." She goes, "I want you to go to college. I want you to go to university. And if there's any other further institute, go there as well. But you learn. You never stop learning." Even today, she says to me, learn something new every day, because she wants me to learn. And that's the thing. Education is power. And the only thing is that if we understand that and we educate just not only our daughters but our sons as well, because I do feel that it's the type of education we give them which is very important. Teach them how to grow their own food, at least. Teach them how to respect one another, love one another, and maybe then we can get out of the survival, sort of warrior survival mode and start living peacefully. That's where peace will come from. When we're out of that, like it's almost like, "Nee, this is mine. Somebody might take it. I have to look after it." And everybody wants to just make sure they've got their own boundaries, their own borders, and it's almost like, "But this belongs to me. That belongs to you." And then that would be divide and rule. That is
the beginning of the conflict. We believe that in Pakistan there is a change. There is a huge change. The whole political system has been put on its head. The two main parties that had ruled our country for 30 years have almost been made where they are looking shabbily at each other and say, what has hit us? I think the country is seeing a new leader in Imran Khan, and we wish Imran Khan well. Of course, we recognize that the issues that Imran Khan is dealing with are historic, and they are chronic, and they are complex, and they are complicated, and they are in need of careful thinking. But I think with his vision, Imran Khan Sahib, I'm sure, will find a way so that he could see as the cricket has brought nations together, similarly trade can bring nations together. And as cricket brings in happiness, trade will bring prosperity. As cricket brings togetherness, trade will bring people together. I think there should be a new thinking in this day to make sure that we set aside our differences and try to begin to live as good neighbors, because that is what God wants us to do.
Gee, definitely. I mean, with the Imran Khan becoming Prime Minister, now there is definitely hope, not just, I would say, in India, but throughout the world, that now the face of Pakistan will change and the future of Pakistan will change. Because now he's got money. He doesn't need money. He has, you know, he's enjoyed, I would say, every luxury of life to the fullest. So you can't bribe him. You can't corrupt him. He's not corruptible. You can't bribe him. So even he was offered to live in a beautiful house, and he said, no, turn it into a university, turn it into something else, because I don't need to live there. And that's the thing, because if there's a good leader in place who's actually looking out for the goodness of the people and the benefit of the people, then that person, you know, will bring the right change. There's definitely hope there. Now, the only thing is that no leader can be great by themselves. They need a good team. They need a good support. And that's where I think that the world is watching very closely. Has he got the support? Will people support him? Or will people carry on with their old ways of life? Because there's a mentality, unfortunately, not just in Pakistan, but in India as well, I would say worldwide, where people think if you can't beat them, join them. And that's a wrong mentality, because that's when people think, if I don't take a bribe, then he'll take a bribe, then he'll go home with more than me. I'll just take it instead, and I'll push this paper forward, or I'll do this. So it's that needs to change. He has got a very big job on his hands.
Yes.
I definitely will pray that God helps him and supports him to build a great country, which Pakistan does have the potential of being, and maybe bring some unity between India and Pakistan as well, because that's the initial reason why I believe why the countries were broken in the first place, was so that this is a great nation. Together they're strong. You can't really conquer them. You can't really rule them if they're together, if they're stronger. So let's just split them up. Let's break them into pieces. And how many more pieces are you going to break the nation into? Because the more we break, the further we get, then we'll crumble. There'll be nothing left. It'll honestly just crumble to dust. But what we need to remember is, even to build a house, is not just one brick alone. I put the brick here, now my house is made. It's one brick plus another brick, and you bind it with the cement, which I would call love, trust. You need that there. But I feel that if both leaders or both nations work together, then there is a possibility. Maybe some people might call me mad. They'll probably be watching the show and thinking, what is Aarti thinking? But I really feel that there is a possibility. There's hope. And there is one great thing that nature does, is it brings everything back round in one full circle. Yes. So what once was will be again. It's not impossible.
You have used wonderful words, such as trust. You have used the word love, and you have used the word hope. But what we are going to talk about next time is putting them all together and wrap them up in goodness. Keep watching this show. We'll be back with you after a break. Thank you for watching Gateway Gazette. Great show to watch.
And like a mobile, we do things your way. With our new UK Plan Super, you can now enjoy 6 gigabytes of ultra-fast 4G data, unlimited UK minutes and texts, plus 100 international minutes to selected countries for the low price of just £15 for 30 days. Experience a faster world with our 4G network. Terms and conditions apply. To order your free SIM, visit likeamobile.co.uk today. Your data, your way. Like a mobile.
हमको जीने दो, जीने दो, जीने दो, जीने दो, हमको जीने दो।
Thank you. We're talking about, when we finish the first segment of this show, about love, about trust, about hope. And we're talking about this in the context of our countries, where there has been a conflict for 71 years. And we are now going to talk about something which is going to bind us and bring us together, and we believe there is a way forward in this. There is enough evil in this world. There is enough conflict in this world. There's enough problem both sides of the border, and I believe that with new hope in Pakistan and new attitude, change of attitude in India, this is going to be possible. The whole issue of how a leader can move forward to take his nation forward is to do with how good that leader is. And Arzaji, tell me, what's the definition of goodness in your view?
Well, goodness, it's such a broad word. It's such a broad word with such a great meaning. It could mean so many things. But if we look at it through, say, for example, philosophy, then as per philosophy, goodness is something which is not physical, so we can't see it. It's not going to be like how we can see each other, but it's going to be something that's in the mind.
Yes.
It's a matter of perception. So what's good for me may not be good for you, or what's good for you may not be good for me.
Almost an illustration.
Yes,
It is
definitely.
how you view a certain situation.
Yes, definitely. So that's something that's very important. And the definition of goodness will be, say for example, my definition of goodness will be as per my experience,
Yes.
as per my knowledge, as per my education, and your definition of goodness will be as per your experience, as per your knowledge, as per your education. Now, the only thing is that's different is that everybody has their own perception.
But some values, some attributes are common. For example, people who are known to be good, they have good manners, and they're kind to people, they are hospitable, they are generous, they are trustworthy, they have a good way to talk, and they are attractive, and they are philanthropists. They give away more than they take. These are the normal qualities of good people. But then you quite rightly say, it's what your previous experience has taught you to see people in whether they are good or not. But at the end of the day, I think it's critical for us to be good in the sense that we should not harm people. We should not pull their legs. We should not push them. We should not kill them. There are a lot of people in this world who are planning suicide bombing. They are planning to kill others. There was I think day before yesterday, there was a near miss in Westminster, where somebody tried to. There's somebody a year ago killed so many people on London Bridge. Now these are the people who are evil people. Opposite of that is those people who are trying to save them. People who are the ambulance drivers, people who are the policemen, people who are the doctors, people like you who are preaching the value and the the goodness itself.
Ji.
Why people have to be. People have to be good so that they can bring peace and tranquility amongst their families, amongst their neighborhood, among their cities, among their countries, and among the world.
Definitely, definitely. And you've hit the nail on its head here, Dr. David, because with love, with peace, with anything, it always begins with the self. This is not, even with goodness, it's not something external, it's something internal. So when you are good to others, others will be good to you. When you are kind to others, then others will be kind to you as well. It's like a positive light which keeps spreading and keeps getting stronger with everybody it touches. So if you were to go to, say, a function or a party, or an area or a room, and you meet some people there who are friendly, they're hospitable, they're being kind to you, they're being nice to you, they're maybe offering you a seat or a drink, you would warm up to them very quickly.
Yes.
And you think, oh, that's a good person, that's kind of them, or that's nice of them. And then you'd feel comfortable there. And that vibration will be very strong. But however, if you were to enter a room, say, for example, if there had been an argument there, or there'd been some sort of a mishap that happened there, automatically the energy level of that space will just go really down, and it would make you feel as if, I don't really want to be here, I need to move away from here, I need to go from here. It will make that uncertainty will be in every cell in your body, and it's only because the goodness is not there, the goodness is missing. So this is something that comes from within. But one of the best things that I would say that we've learned is that even if other people are not being good to us, we should be good to them, because it could be that they don't know better, and maybe we need to teach them through our example that it's possible to live life being good as well. And unfortunately with certain people, because they're stuck in a certain way, they don't want to move their way of thinking, they don't want to think differently, they only want to look at their perception through that tunnel kind of vision and just see that this is my truth and this is my reality and there's nothing more around it. That's when it's difficult to maybe educate or maybe help them realize that there's a greater wisdom out there. There's so much more that we don't know. There's so much more that we're yet to learn. But we can only find out these things if we give ourselves time and if we give others time. Say, for example, even with countries, I'm not just speaking about India and Pakistan here, I'm speaking about worldwide. There's so many war threats going on every single day, so many countries boycotting other countries. But if they will just sit down maybe and actually have a conversation, not a debate, not a dispute, not a fight, but an actual conversation, maybe so many things would be able to be cleared up. But that's just sometimes it seems like, would that be a possibility? Would that goodness come from people's hearts? Can we go right back down to basics, unlearn everything that we've been brainwashed or conditioned to learn, and start from scratch, which is, our heart is good. Our soul is good. We all want to live. We all want to be happy. Nobody wants to be just born, work all your life, be miserable, go home miserable, and wake up miserable, and then this is it. You know, we all want to be happy. There's not any parent in the world who would want their children to grow up in an environment which is hostile, which is negative, which is too many arguments or fighting. You know, you'd want them to be happy. When you send your child to school, you would think, I want them to have good friends.
That's right.
Your good teachers. You know, so it's important to have a good, I would say, society as a whole.
Equally important is to distinguish the role of the powerful in this whole equation of happiness. People who are supposed to be good are supposed to be mostly those who are weak, because they have no choice and they have no defense and they have no say. So they are supposed to be good because they can't say anything, they can't speak anything. But the person who needs to be good and are those people who are in the position of power. Because evil has been brought on nations by people whose leaders were evil. Hitler is one.
Gee, 100%.
Just one example. The most evil empire in the 20th century was the Soviet Union. And it was brought down by 3 good people. That was, two of them, of course, were Margaret Thatcher, and then there was Ronald Reagan, and Pope John Paul II. 3 powerful, good people who did everything to turn around the journey of history. And they brought an end to the most evil empire of where people were killed, where people were sent without any trial in labor camps and everything.
Yes.
So we need people like Ronald Reagan. We need people like John Paul II. We need people like Jesus. We need people like Muhammad. We need people like Mahatma Gandhi. We need people like Nelson Mandela. We need people like Buddha. We need people like Diana, Princess of Wales. We need princes like Her Majesty the Queen Elizabeth II. These are the people who will make the difference, because these are the people who are powerful people, and they are good people. When all the nations in the world will become good, the whole world will change.
Definitely. I mean, I definitely agree with you there, because it's very, very important for that goodness to come out and that goodness to remain as well, which is very important. But the only thing is that one of the things that I learned at a very young age, it was from a manager of mine. And I was working for this company, and I was doing a role as a supervisor. I had just been promoted from a supervisor to a manager, and I was a bit scared. I was very young, very naive, and I had never been a manager before. And I was afraid, how will I manage my team? And my superior, my manager, said to me, "Aarti, if you want to see a person's true colors, give them power." And that stuck with me, Dr. David. And I've seen that throughout life. I've seen it happen with so many people. As there will be people that will make promises and promises and promises, but as soon as they come into power, it's like, where did that person go who made the promises? Or this is what we were expecting, and what's going on now? So that is something which has always stuck by me. And it's important to see that person in power, how they change, or how much they change. Will they deliver all the promises that they have made or they did make, or will they not? And if they can't, will they own up to it? Will they say, okay, you know what, I did promise you this, maybe I couldn't deliver you this, but what we can do is we can do this. You know, and that's something that we are expecting from our future leaders, that this is something that we are expecting from our leaders, to see a positive change, but an honest change. Because what makes a good person is an honest person, having that honesty there. We're not asking anybody to play God. We're not asking any of our leaders to play God. But what we are asking is honesty. And you're very right in saying that it does start from the grassroots level, because all of these people who are great leaders now, or who are in very high places now, how did they start life? Everybody started life as a child who couldn't even eat. Forget eating, we couldn't even crawl or sit up by ourselves. So if we started life from being that, then we've got potential to grow. Everybody has potentiality. We can all grow. We can all be something. But the only thing is that how do we use that potentiality, and do we use it to our max? But what's very important for every child is to have the right support network around them so that they can grow. For example, for myself, my biggest support would be my mother. You know, and then it would be people like you who encourage me, who say to me, Aarti, let's do this show, let's speak about goodness, and it gives you encouragement, because it says, oh, somebody else has faith in me, and that faith, that love, that respect, that trust, that's what encourages me to be, for me to shine, or me to be good. If that makes any sense at all. But it's like there's good, but you can even do better.
Of course, you're doing a tremendous job, and I really am very grateful to you for joining me in my show. Now, we know that evil breeds evil.
Ji.
Hatred breeds hatred, and then conflict breeds conflict. And there's only one way to stop this vicious cycle. That is to first of all, step back and take stock of where are we going with this? What today's conflict is going to do with tomorrow's children that we have today, and the grandchildren and their children. Once we step back, rather than be in the cycle of hatred and conflict and violence and killing and murders and suicide bombing and all the things that we do these days, I think we need to stop, take stock, set back, and then say, let's start changing this.
Ji.
Let's start changing this. And the only way we could do this by being good, by being patient, by being kind, by being tolerant, by being nice, by being courteous, by being faithful and loyal and honest and good. This is what we need to do. And I'm sure that we go to our countries, India and Pakistan. You love your country dearly and I love my, and we have had a debate. We know that there are differences of opinion in people in Pakistan and India. And we are saying, all right, let us discuss those differences of opinion. But for heaven's sake, let's not forget that we have a common destiny. We have to have peace for the sake of our children and our grandchildren.
Gee, Dr. David, when you say this, you've put it very beautifully, and it reminds me of this shamanistic saying. In shamanistic saying, they say that when a child is born, the first thing you teach that child is that this land, this country, this space is something which you owe to your future generation. So it's not yours. This is something that you owe to the future generation. So when I feel that if mankind moves forward with that mentality, then we can see a bigger change, a greater change. Then we can get out of this survival instinct where we just want to scrounge and just keep everything for ourselves and have everything for ourselves. But then we can actually start thinking about maybe not just ourselves, but our home, our environment, our village, our city, our land, our country, and even the world. Then we would not have all of these disasters that are going on at the moment. Just this morning I read that another animal, which is the black rhino, became extinct. And these animals are going extinct at such a harsh rate. Deforestation is happening at such a harsh rate, and this is our environment. And if we don't have trees, how will we ever breathe? Bees are being reduced to so much that there's that fear of extinction even amongst bees. But if there's no bees, there'll be no mankind. And that's a scary thought, because the way that God has created the world, now we can call this energy God, we can call him, the God particle by any name, but we know that there is this power that is there. Yeah. But anything was not created without a reason. Everything has a purpose. Everything has a reason. And we all have our part in the universe. Even when we were not born just like that randomly. We were born for a reason. And what we need to figure out from the goodness in our hearts is, what is our calling? What is our purpose? What is me as a clog? What is where is my place in life, and what is my purpose? Even if I can take this mission of goodness or kindness, and I can take that message one step forward, and even through this show today, Dr. David, with yourself, you've given me this great opportunity. Even if we can make one person understand that goodness always wins over evil. Goodness always wins over anger, over negativity. Love always wins over war. So the positivity is always the winner, no matter what. There can be a lot of rage, there can be a lot of anger, there can be a lot of negativity, but love always comes first. Because that's what we are born from, our essential essence, where we're actually born from love. And Dr. David, I mean, you're a medical doctor. So even you would know the first cell that where a woman realizes that, oh, she's pregnant or she's expecting, that first cell is the part of the cell which actually forms the heart. So our very being, our very creation begins with our heart, which is love. And if we don't understand this, then we don't understand anything.
Bringing people happiness is primary responsibility of every human being. We were not born to bring misery to others. We were not born to bring violence in this world. We were created by the grace of God. God is the root and the source of all goodness. He would never want any of his creation to be violent, to be hurtful to others. He is a kind God. He is a forgiving God. He is a faithful God. He does not want us to be evil. He does not want us to kill others. He doesn't want us to harm others, to hurt somebody, or his feelings, or his being in any possible way. He wants us to be good to others. He wants us to help those people who are suffering, like Mother Teresa. He wants us to be humble. He wants us to look up to him as an example who looks upon us with grace. He wants us to be gracious. Are we gracious? Are we humble? Are we good to others at place of work, in the neighborhoods, on the tube stations, in the hospitals? Are we good, or are we just going through the motions of trying to be an honorable person without actually doing any favors to others? This is what this program is all about. We are not here to say, well, we are better than others. We are not saying that we are better people or whatever. What we are saying is that I need to get better. Because, you know, as I say many times in my place of work or when I'm teaching, good is not good enough. It has to be better.
Definitely, 100% agree with you, 200%, because there's always room for improvement. Always room for improvement. It's just like when you're a child, you think being good is sharing your sweets with your siblings, but when you grow up, you believe being good is maybe helping those that are less fortunate than you. And then as you get stronger and as God gives you more resources, then you think maybe I should help more people, or I should spread this message, and things move forward in a positive way. But it's spreading that positive light. And if I use my candle to light another candle, the light of my candle will not get dim.
That's right.
It will still keep shining the same. And unfortunately, Dr. David, this is the problem with today's society. Some people are in fear that if I share my candlelight with you, then my light will go away. But that's not the case. That's not the case at all. And love is so beautiful. It changes you like this. It changes you like this. And that love we try to find in other people. Sometimes we try to find in things. If I have the latest iPhone, I'm going to be happy. Or if I've got the best car, I'm going to be happy. Or if I'm wearing the latest gadget, I'm happy. But end of the day, and in all honesty, I've seen this day in, day out with the work that I do. Where do we find that love? Where do we find that peace? We go back to God. We go back to our roots. And that's where we get the love from. That's where we get our goodness from, because that teaches us to be humble. So even sometimes when we suffer and we see there's pain everywhere. But even from that pain, we learn, and it makes us humble, and we surrender to God, and we say, God, help me, show me the way, and show me how to move forward. Because at the end of the day, when we become humble, that means we're an empty vessel. There's no ego there. There's nothing else there. We're humble. We're an empty vessel. Then God can fill our love, our heart, our minds with love, with peace, and with the right knowledge of goodness. But if we have everything, if there's a glass on the table, or if we believe we have everything, or if we believe we have everything, then we're stuck.
Then we have no hope.
Yeah.
I will give you. In fact, I mentioned this example a few weeks ago on this, and this is, you have illustrated a beautiful way the example of lighting your candle, and your candle remains the same. The other, I was trying to tell somebody earlier this morning that if there's a well in a city or in a village or in a wherever, and if you don't take water out of the well, the water will stagnate.
Yes.
It will become smelly and no one will be able to drink it. But if you take the water out, more water will come in. And it will become sweeter, and it will be better, and it will be fresher. And that is what your life is. If we are able to give what you have, God will fill us with freshness. And God will give us more. And God will bless us more. But if you keep whatever we have in us and don't give us, it will stagnate. We will die of overeating. We will die of obesity. We will die of bigness. And bigness doesn't necessarily mean in size and money. It is your head which will ultimately kill you, because you think you're better than others. But no one is better. God created everyone equal.
And that's the thing, but the only thing is that sometimes the devil comes to play and our minds get corrupted. We start thinking about power, money. It affects the best of us in so many ways. I mean, those of you that have done your tax returns always think, okay, how can I evade tax? Or how can I save a penny there? Or maybe not pay this person what they're fully due? And those sorts of things come into our mind. But what we need to actually remember is that it begins with us. If we stay good, if we stay positive, then we can definitely spread that light and bring positivity everywhere. But it starts off at home. It starts with each individual. When you're good, then that goodness, that love, that energy will spread. Like the example I used earlier, Dr. David gave, you need loads of bricks to build a house. You can't just build a house with one brick. Somebody show me how you build a house with one brick. You can't do it. And you can't just stack them together just like that for fun, because there'll be nothing there to hold them together. You need that bond, you need that love, you need that trust, you need that faith to make it happen. But if those things don't combine, it's not going to happen. And if one person says to me, but I don't believe in love, or I don't believe in that cement will hold this together, or concrete will hold this together, then that doubt, all it's going to do is it's going to cause some sort of a ripple there. And if that doubt spreads, it's negative energy. Negative energy doesn't take long to spread. It's easier to spread a lie than it is to spread a truth. And this is what we've learned from history, throughout history. So what we need to do is come back to the basics. Every time when we think that, okay, we're going astray, or our mind, our ego is getting the better of us, come back to basics, become humble again, go straight to your soul, go straight to your core, and have that conversation with yourself. Now, when I have that conversation with myself, I'm speaking to the God that's within my heart, within my soul. So that's who I'm having the conversation with. But maybe you need to have a conversation with yourself. Whoever's watching the show, maybe you need to have a conversation and just ask yourself, as a humble human being,
we are now coming to the close of the show.
Yes.
It was a great show, I think, with you. And if you have changed your mind even a small bit, and if you made you think about yourself and how good you are or how good you can be, I think we would have done well today. Be good to others, because God is good to us. Have a good evening and have a good week, and we will see you next Thursday, all being well. God bless you. Happy Independence Day, India. Happy Independence Day, Pakistan. And thank you, Arti ji.
Thank you so
Grateful
much. Thank you.